Hey everyone, I hope you're all having a good day and welcome back to Theonopolis. So today we are basically in a complete unseen area by you guys, but we're also starting on the river rapids and trying to build the complete station, though I can already say to you guys like the station is going to take 2 episodes because, I tried to build something small again. I know I should have learned from the past that when I try to build something small, it never works out. But also, like the backstory I have for the river rapids is kind of bonkers. So, yeah, that also happened. Because the backstory that I have for the river rapids is basically farmland. Yes, you might think like, oh, for farmland you might want calmer waters, but no, I just didn't want that. But I want to fully explain why I choose like the river rapids for like farmland area. Well, more likely like I want to build a river rapids. This story fits to like a very big stretch with what I want to build. So, then I just like stretch the story even further so that it fits the ride even more. But yeah, I could tell you guys why the river rapids works, but then I would basically cut into what I want to talk about in the next episode, so I'm not going to do that. So just know that with what we're going to build in the next episode, it kinda works a little bit. But anyway, when it comes to farmland as such, Greece actually isn't the, best place to do that. Like, Greece isn't like the most fertile land when you, let's say, compare it to the other big civilizations with like Egypt and in Mesopotamia, and then you also had like Rome with its like breadbasket regions in, I think, Spain and Sicily, if I'm correct. And yeah, then you have Greece, which isn't really that fertile, doesn't really support as much like farmland as, again, like ancient Egypt is like the most well-known equivalence of like the biggest like farm. Or like where farming really went into building a great civilization. And Greece didn't really have that. Yeah, in Greece you had like small farms, like some like small family-owned farms, which basically supported the family and maybe had some like excess crops. So that really brings it to like, alright, with this river rapids, I either have to build some small farms, like all these like sprawled out houses with like small farmlands next to it. But there is another option which goes into saying like, yeah, I wanted to build something small and it didn't work out. But the other option is like basically also like a farm owned by one family, but then the farm is like huge and the family is like really well to do, so it's like almost like the equivalent of what we would see nowadays with like one family owning like a huge swath of land. And then they didn't really have to live on the land because, again, the farm would usually produce so much income that they could just basically move to, let's say, the city or any other place they wanted to have a palace or estate or some kind of livable area. Like, they didn't really need to live on the farm anymore. But yeah, I wanted the station. The station is always like the biggest building when building a ride, or usually it is. So, I could have built like a storage space, like a warehouse, but then I just thought like, nah, like a storage space area or station fits in more in like the more industrial area of Theonopolis. So yeah, basically built their estate right on the farm. It's not really historically accurate, but I mean, how much of Theonopolis is nowadays? So it's slightly accurate also in like building style, because right now we're building basically a courtyard, which, as I said in earlier episodes, most of the like Grecian like bigger houses had a courtyard because, well, it's like, I mean, So well, where it's a magnificent place to just be. Like it's a good place to basically entertain guests or welcome guests. But it's also, it's also the place for the household or the family to basically do their things if it's very warm, because, well, it provides quite a good way of like ventilating the entire house. So it's probably like the more like, because Greece can get quite warm, so it's like a good place to, let's say, cool down a bit. Especially if you have a river rapids going through it, because water has a very nice cooling effect. Yeah. So you could have like, to be maybe accurate, maybe like a small like fountain or something, but yeah, I don't do anything small. But it was just like a nice way of going through the building a little bit, even though it's not completely like, I want to say like completely accurate, but we are building a river rapids. In almost no way could I make this building completely historically accurate. But with the Courtyard, it's kind of nice actually, because it's still like, with most stations, they are really closed in buildings, like they're not really meant to be very open, but with this Courtyard, it actually still is very open, which is really nice. Like I don't know why, but it just feels a lot more airy, a little bit like less dense, just because of that one small opening. Although most of the times those or the Courtyard could be like, have some kind of like a roof, or let's say a roofing element in, let's say, I don't know, some kind of like beam, so that you could somewhat close it off with, let's say, some pieces of cloth or other pieces of wood to close off the Courtyard. But yeah, you might now also think, why am I building a second Courtyard? And it somewhat is a second Courtyard, but also somewhat not, because it's completely closed off, as you can see. But this is more of like the storage area, like the back of the house, where you don't really want your guests or anyone to see. Like, you don't want them to be here, because it's usually a little bit messier. And yeah, I'm also like building like some kind of, let's say, you could call it fencing, you could call it basically also a room divider, just basically splitting up the rooms, because Grecian rooms, from what I know, again, if I'm ever wrong, please do tell me. Like, I don't want to sit here and you guys just take everything I say as completely factual, because I can obviously be wrong. But from what I have seen, Grecian houses, or at least their rooms, were quite big. Like, there weren't like many like rooms to basically subdivide the house as much as, let's say, we have now. So to basically subdivide the house, then you would use a room divider such as these. Probably not completely like these, because they are still a little bit open, but it's a little bit prettier when they are open and have like some kind of like decoration, because yeah, wood just becomes so much more expensive the moment like you add decorations. And again, this is like the estate of the family or household that owns the entire farmland. Or not the entire farmland, but just a large portion of it. So yeah, it kind of makes sense that they have like a little bit more of like expensive items to decorate their house with. And also, yeah, I just wanted to build something big and not make it just like loading bay and that's it. Like, I wanted to have something in the house that you could also see. I think this is like the most decorated like inside of a house that I have in Theonopolis. Like, I love building big buildings, but I don't really like building insides. Yeah. But as you could probably see by now, compared to the actual Courtyard, this is really like a messy place. Like, there are racks on the dividers, there are like pots basically strewn around. And this area would most likely like let's say, lead to either the kitchen or like an actual storage room, or in a nice way, the servants' quarters. In the probably a more honest and truthful way, the slave quarters. Because let's face it, Grecian civilization brought us many good things, but they also, they had some questionable things, as let's say slavery, but also like equality between men and women. But that's that's a big can of worms that's, I don't really want to open right now. But let's just say women had really little rights back then. Well, I think in ancient Egypt they had more rights, I think, but I can't really state that for sure. But anyway, so this was most likely just the back of the house where sadly the women and most likely the slaves would be. It's a little bit of like, it's not meant to be seen, so there's not as much detail or let's say beautification or just details spent into the building. Although I say that, but the women's quarters, or let's say the woman dominated areas of the house, would probably be, would surely be more well decorated than of course the servant quarters. So most likely this wouldn't be like the woman dominated area of the house. That would most likely be some other area. But like, I really like Greek architecture, of course, but I can't say just like, if you weren't like a male citizen of like a good to do city, you basically had a rough time living in ancient Greece. Like, I think the most like equal place in ancient Greece was actually Sparta, which surprised me, because there, women had a little bit more rights and status than, let's say, Athens. But anyway, before I really just blow up the comment section, or let's just move on. Like, I can't really think of like a good transition. But we're back with building just a regular frieze, and it really is a little bit of like a nice building right now, but it's also like, of course, it's bigger than I thought. And I really want to quickly delve into how Theonopolis started, because that's actually, considering how Theonopolis is now, actually is a little bit weird. Because the moment I thought of like starting Theonopolis, because there's, there is the starting point. Like, I think the first episode, like, I was still really unsure if I wanted to continue it. But like before the first episode, actually, when I started thinking of like I wanted to build like a Greek big park, I wanted to build it in challenge mode. And if you know challenge mode, that's the mode where you actually have to worry about money and research and your staff and everything. Imagine that. Building Theonopolis in challenge mode. That would have taken more than 5 years. Because I would have to constantly wait to get money back. And then let's say the pharaohs wouldn't have been built. Because that would have taken ages. Because the pharaohs is, I think the pharaohs is like somewhat around 40 to 30k pieces. The pharaohs is huge. That might be the reason why my frame rate is dipping. I still believe that we have like enough frame rate left to finish Theonopolis. But let's say large scale things like the pharaohs, those won't be happening anymore, because then my PC would literally just cry itself to sleep. But anyway, we still have like enough time and space just to, finish this river rapids. Then I have another ride in my mind to build, and maybe a kiddie coaster. And then of course some flat rides. But I also quickly want to say, we're kind of like staying in this area, which is weird. Like, I usually bounce around from place to place. Like, I basically see myself as like A squirrel or B a bouncy ball. Like, I'm just like, you throw me into Theonopolis and you will see where I end up. Usually stuck on the Acropolis in a car. Yeah, bad times. Don't ride through Theonopolis in a car. You're going to get stuck. Some corners are a little bit sharper than you think. But anyway, so we have basically a little bit less of like rides. Of course, I want to finish all the coasters because that's like the biggest downfall I have. Like, I start a coaster and then I forget to finish it. I think like even like the Plague Coaster is like not completely finished, which is also probably the reason why you haven't seen a POV of it yet. But yeah, like I love to like finish just buildings like hotels and winkles, shops and such. The Dutch came through for 1 second, but yeah, with rides and such, I usually just like build it and then I forget it sometimes. So yeah, but we will have like, we will stay in this area, so you already saw in the background maybe like a coaster you haven't seen before. I'm probably not going to film building that coaster, but I hope I say it correctly, but I'm just going to call you Swans. You said you really like Persephone's meadow, and this is also the area where Persephone's meadow is. So yeah, you're going to see that one again because I need to decorate it so that it fits in with the area. Because Persephone's meadow was kind of like the trickiest thing to place in Theonopolis because it could fit in so many areas that I didn't know in which area to actually put it. Eventually it ended up here in the outskirts because like it's a meadow, so you think of like vast open grasslands, or as stated, meadows. So it fits in here, but it also fits in perfectly actually in Midas district because it's like, it looks very like a very wealthy garden. But yeah, so yeah, we're going to basically stay here, which again is weird, like I usually bounce around. But I'm going to try and stay here until this area is finished. And because we are building a river rapids, which, connects to water, after this area is finished, I might go back to the water coaster. Also, yes, that's going to be like 2 episodes on the water coaster, like for each scene that still remains, but yeah, it's going to be fun. Trying to finish an area, which is going to be weird, because I never finish anything. Well, except for the hotel and such. Somewhat. Anyways, so back to the ride. Or actually the station, because as I said before, or I hope I've said before, we're not going to completely finish building the building the station. Like, my mind's already on the water coaster, so bear with me. But we're not going to completely finish the station because, well, I could have finished the station in this episode, but then I would have to cut out a huge chunk of what I've built, or at least what I've recorded. And I've already cut out a lot of things, like the rock work I've cut out. The block work I've also cut out a large chunk of it. So if I wanted to completely finish the station, a lot of those things that you still saw today would have to be cut out. And I didn't want to do that, so... Well, next episode we're going to basically finish the station and build the things that will make the river rapids kind of work with what the theme of this ride is going to be, which again is going to be Farmland. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting episode, the next one. Also, this is just quickly by the way, but as most of you well know, next week and the week after that is going to be the Plant Zoo beta, and I want to build for that, and I'm going to build for that. I hope I can preload it so that it's not like, when the beta goes live that I still have to like load and install it. But I've already said in like the tour of the main street and the castle that I'm going to basically pre-record a lot of stuff, and you might be thinking like, most of this is pre-recorded. Well, in some way you're true, but in some ways also not, because usually I basically record the commentary and let's say, well, sometimes even the day that the video goes live. Mostly because I want to have like, you know, some like up-to-date commentary of like things going on. Like I, in a way, hate it when I like have a lot of footage left and that could be built into multiple episodes, because then my brain is already on like the latest form of what we've built. But yeah, so next week and the week after that, I think at least double the amount of videos, which is going to be interesting. Well, I wanted to say like, oh, it's going to be busy because, you know, well, it's not actually, because as I said before, I'm probably going to pre-record quite some stuff. So yeah. Also, I have like some plans of what I have a plan of what I want to build, and for me it's small. Alia might say something very differently, because me and maybe many of you guys have probably a very big difference in the definition of small. Yeah, and then like as soon as Plans 2 is like actually released, I also have like things, well, I want to build something what I think is big, so probably you guys think it's huge. Though, yeah, I'm really excited for it. Also really excited how next week is going to pan out. Also, if I'm correct, September the 21st is like Red Panda Day. And yes, I say I'm a squirrel, but like next best animal for me is always the Red Panda. So if Red Pandas get announced, I think this Saturday it is, if I'm correct, or yeah, this Saturday. Yeah, I might not survive that announcement. Perhaps. Alright, I'm being dramatic, but yeah, I really just want Red Pandas, because that would be like the first thing I built in the beta. Just a Red Panda habitat. Yeah, I don't know, I think every animal with like a really fluffy tail is just like their best. But then also Red Pandas are incredibly lazy, so I can really relate to them. I say, as I think we're at 64 episodes. Like, gaming is still like not the most active thing to do. So, yeah. Anyway, that's probably going to be it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, I hope to see you back in the next video. Which, yeah, it's going to be Friday, if I'm correct. Like, we've been at like this regular schedule for at least like a month, and I still am not used to it. But anyway, again, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you all have an amazing day. Bye bye, guys.